Just met a girl named Maria, and suddenly that name will never be the same to me. Everybody in America, everything free in America. For a smokey in America. Buying on credit is so nice. One look at us and they charge twice. I have my own washing machine. What will you have though to keep clean?
If you have ever seen the movie West Side Story, then those songs are probably familiar to you. Today we're going to talk about West Side Story and how the images from that film have affected Puerto Ricans. Here to talk to us today is Calvin Greer. Calvin?
Thank you. Some of the most recognizable songs, themes, and images of the 20th century came from the film West Side Story, and are still being reproduced, hummed, and watched by movie and theater goers today. Continuing to devour this material from 50 years ago without analyzing the underlying messages it contains is harmful to today's Puerto Rican culture. From stereotypes to barbarism and criminality to ignorance of Puerto Rican culture, from the fear of miscegenation to brown-faced and exotic beauties, assimilation, privilege, and making the American dream, this movie creates an unrealistic portrayal of what it means to be Puerto Rican.
So how is this relevant to today?
That's a very good question. We are coming up on the 50th anniversary of a film, originally a Broadway musical, that has been at the forefront of popular culture for half a century and is a prime example of repackaging an old racist product and representing it to today's world where it is consumed and perpetuates those stereotypes. West Side Story is still being produced in schools by major production studios. Its 50th anniversary edition is out on Blu-ray, and if you go to Royal Albert Hall website, you will find tickets to a live performance of the orchestra with a screening of the film.
So what do Puerto Ricans think about this film?
Well, according to Alberto Sandoval Sanchez, Puerto Rican activists and scholars condemn the musical for its caricature of Puerto Rican people and culture. Nevertheless, they acknowledge its beloved place in Puerto Rican popular culture.
Could you give me a specific example of just how much this movie affects our image of how we see the Puerto Rican culture?
Yes, I could give you many. To cite a specific example, in the words of Sandoval Sanchez, one of his experiences is, over and over again, in his words, to make me feel comfortable, they would start conversations with West Side Story. They would often sing, Alberto, I've just met a guy named Alberto. Or, I like to be in America, I like to be in America, everything free in America.
And you mentioned already the use of stereotypes in this film. Could you mention where those would have come from and what a few of them are?
Yes. These stereotypes came out of how Puerto Ricans were misrepresented in the film and how the true Puerto Rican image and culture was often misconceived. The man who wrote the lyrics to West Side Story, Stephen Sondheim, wrote, I can't do this show. I've never been that poor, and I've never even known a Puerto Rican. Concerning stereotypes, according to Negron Montaner, this film is neither the first nor the last portrayal of Puerto Ricans as criminal men and fiery women.
How might the treatment of Puerto Ricans on the screen affect Puerto Ricans off the screen?
On the screen, I think we see ideas of white supremacy and ownership. We hear the Jets say, we fought hard for this territory, and it's ours. The PRs can't move in right under our noses and take it away. We also hear the police officer say, oh yeah, sure, I know, it's a free country, and I ain't got no right. But I got a badge. What do you got? Things are tough all over. Beat it. So we see these ideas that the Puerto Ricans do not belong in this area.
You also mentioned the fear of miscegenation. So my question for you is, why is this film not seen as incredibly racist by most people?
Almost all the films we have watched in class that deal with the fear of miscegenation have ended with one of the two people dying. It was alright to have a mixed-race couple in films, but for them to procreate was not. So, what better way is there to portray this fear than to base a mixed-race couple on the play Romeo and Juliet and get away with it not seeming incredibly racist? Lead roles were given to whites, who played the roles in brownface. Brownface was applied to Puerto Ricans and was also used to accentuate the difference between the two races. So, in short, you would say that the struggles the Puerto Ricans are met with, the ignorance that they continually meet, and the ways they're treated are all products of the stereotypes and misconceptions that our culture holds that are a result of this film? Yes, I would.